Silima, and welcome back, or welcome anew, depending on if we have happened to cross paths before or not. So, a few videos back, I mentioned that we have a plentiful plethora of calendars from Sumer. Today, I'm going to talk about one of those, and this one happens to come from a place called Urim, which, depending on which scholar you ask, you may or may not already be familiar with. Before I get into the specifics of this particular calendar, I wish to define some terms, because, as a Sumerian recon, I like to use Sumerian. So here are a few quick words for your convenience. A mu, which may have also been pronounced as a mol, is a year. An iti is a month. And an ud, which may or may not have been old, I'm not too sure about that, is a day. Now, you could have an udimi, a 7-day, and in English we would call this a week. However, the Sumerians didn't really keep track of weeks in the sense that we do. They were more monthly thinkers. Lastly, within my chart you may see the term nuzua, literally meaning it is not known. This means that the name of the month is either not attested, or that their name is attested but it's damaged, or simply that I am human and have not found it. With that out of the way, let's dive into the calendar of Urim. Like pretty much all calendars in Near East, the calendar of Urim was lunar, which means that the new Iti begins on the new moon. Now, of course, as with everything Sumerian, the calendars were not static entities throughout the thousands of years. So, it's important to mention that the calendar here is taken from what we have of the early dynastic period Ur. And unfortunately, 2 months are Nusua. Let me read out the basic month name. Obviously, 2 are Nusua. The next one is Shekinku, Amarsangu Nanah, the Ezemach ni Nasuka, the Akiti, the Shuesh Nanah, the Ezemach Nanah, the Abirgu Enkika, the Negir, the Ezemach ni Negal, and the Ninga Sahaba. Unfortunately, these months are only roughly ordered, and they may have been somewhat ordered differently. In fact, throughout years, as we will see, the months would actually occupy different parts of the year. But, so, for the purposes of recon though, I will give a rough equivalent of various dates, but it should be kept in mind that, the primary determinant was when the new moon would come. And also, this is not really the calendar I used. This is simply a good calendar to get started with. The calendar I use is actually based off of Uruk. So the first month to discuss the calendar of Uruk is Shekinku, which means grain work, cutting, that is to say, harvesting. This month is one of the few months to occur in pretty much every Sumerian calendar, and is also the month that I use to fill in a part of spring of the Uruk calendar, since we don't have it attested. During this month, there was a harvest festival. I personally tend to practice the festival by offering various fruits, vegetables, and libations to the gods. Generally, I will celebrate the Ezem, which is the Sumerian word for festival, on the 13th of the month. The second month is Amarsangu Nana, which means the month of the duck-eating ritual of Nana. For this festival, I would recommend offering duck eggs or something of that nature, but that's just my own personal take on this. Then we get to the Ezemach Ninasuka, the great festival of Ninasu, a month obviously associated with Ninasu, a god of the underworld, and also of healing, as I'll eventually make a video on. This month would actually survive the early dynastic period and enter into the Ur-free period, where it became the 5th and later the 6th month. The next one is the Ezemach Nana, that is the great festival of Nana, which involved offerings to the deity of Urim, Nana, as well as to Inanna. In the Ur-free calendar, in fact, this month would simply be called Ezemach. Then we come to the Akiti festival, which was likely celebrated as the triumph of the moon, that is the autumnal equinox, which was the time to harvest. We have the Abgirgu Enkika, which is the first month of the fish eating of Enki. I personally imagine this month as a time to celebrate fishermen and the various animals of the sea. And then we have the Shuesh Nana. This month is a bit more mysterious. The name likely refers to an astronomical observance of Venus, which was associated with the goddess Inanna. The month of Negir is, from the best of my knowledge, the month of braziers, which involved offerings of several animals. The Ezemach Negal was a time for the sacred marriage, a festival which will require a video all its own. And the last known month is the month of Ningsahadba. This was a month of distributing various offerings to Ninhursag and her various children. As for the months that remain unknown, the best practice that I found is to substitute it for other months for other calendars, ideally the closest calendar that you can find. This, of course, does not preclude using other calendars, as some festivals and some months only occur in other calendars versus other calendars, like for example the Azim Nache, which occurs in Lagash. But with all that said, this has been a basic overview of the calendar of Urim. So, please remember to like, subscribe for future videos, and please do leave a comment and share where you can, and also feel free to visit my Discord where I can provide even more information. And if you really want to go beyond and above, then my wish list for research is linked down below.